Today, we're gonna find out how fast you can beat Pokemon Black and White with only Emboar. The last and honestly my least favorite of the firefighting starters, the Mega Fire Pig Pokemon, is all gas and no brakes. With very high attack and special attack stats, Emboar is a good candidate for a solo run where blasting through multiple enemies is necessary, often one-shotting them. In terms of coverage, the pig can learn a lot of TMs, which is sure to help with the 3 gym leaders that are super effective against it. The rules for this challenge are on screen now, and if you'd like to refer back to them, they'll be in the description down below. Also, for consistency, I always use Pokemon with a neutral nature and perfect IVs. As a peek behind the curtain, I usually run damage calcs and plan for battles that I think are going to be difficult before starting these runs, and I keep all my notes handy while playing. Let's just say that at the end of this one, things didn't go exactly as planned. Make sure you watch till the end to see what I'm talking about. Take your guesses in the comments as to what Emboar's final time is gonna be, and now, let's get into it. We pick up our starter, and after stomping Bianca and Sharon, I finally get to name him Suplex. When it's time to battle Sharon in the trainer school, his Oshawott has Water Gun, but it's still at a low enough level to not really pose a threat. It takes a few tackles to take it out, but then Purloin dies to 2 Embers, so we can move right to Cress. 2 Embers are all it takes to KO his lead Lillipup, as it just uses workup between turns. I open with a Tail Whip against Panpour, whose Water Gun only does 12 damage to us. After being dropped to -1 defense, Tackle does half the Chimp's health, and following a workup, we win the battle with 1 more. Suplex also gets to level 15 here and learns Flame Charge, which is an incredible move. Speed control is so important in battles, and this move allows Emboar to deal damage while also boosting its speed by 1 stage. You'll see how useful it is throughout this run. I also immediately teach Suplex the TM workup, which Cress gave us after beating him. Now we're able to boost not only our speed, but also our attack and special attack. We have another uneventful run-in with Sharon on our way to Nacrene City. When we finally arrive, I make a stop over to this house where this girl gives us a charcoal. Getting our type boosting item so early is huge, especially when we couple this boost to fire type attacks with the boost we get from Emboar's ability Blaze. Now we head over to the museum where we're confronted by N. Flame Charge is enough to KO Pidove off the bat, but now Timpole comes in. I use workup as we're hit with Bubble Beam for 20 damage, and after Tackle comes up just short of the one shot, we get hit by another. One more tackle takes the Tadpole down and brings us to level 17 where we learn Arm Thrust. One last Flame Charge drops Timber, and now with a fighting move in our arsenal, we can take on the normal gym. Since Lenora is always an issue, I ran the numbers here to see what level we needed to be at to beat her. After getting through her gym trainers, Emboar was at 19, but since I need him at 20 for this battle, I take out a few optional trainers in Pinwheel Forest before returning to the gym. I gave Suplex a Chesto Berry in case Watchog decides to use Hypnosis, and oh no, I forgot about Intimidate. Well, this just became a crapshoot. I need to be at +1 attack for my strategy to work, so now instead of 1 workup, I need to get 2 off. Herdier doesn't do any damage to me, but being at -2 defense means I probably lose to Watchog's Retaliate. Arm Thrust gets the first kill after our boost, and now it's the moment of truth. Leer also comes out from Watchog. I'd like to think this is because Lenora didn't see a kill with Retaliate, but I did the calcs and I definitely would have died. Thank you game devs for bad AI, and Emboar has no problem one-shotting the normal type with his second Arm Thrust. While making our way through Pinwheel Forest, we take a slight detour to grab the TM for Grass Knot, which apparently Emboar can learn. Fine by me. Without anything else to do, we can jump over to Castelia City and our battle with Berg, if you can even call it that. I misclick Ember instead of Flame Charge, so Whirlipede actually manages to survive turn 1 and Screech me. I didn't realize Berg would heal, so I Ember again, and after the second Hyper Potion, I finally use Flame Charge on the bug. The Fiery Rush does 70% to Dwebble, who hits Smackdown before dying to another, and then Livani comes in. Berg's Ace is 4 times weak to fire, and at +3 speed, Suplex absolutely incinerates it before it even knew what hit it. Bianca on the way to Route 4 is a very easy victory, and once on the route, it's time to battle Sharon again. I open things with workup as Pidove fires off an Air Cutter for minimal damage. The Sandstorm in this battle is definitely going to make things difficult. I Flame Charge the bird and Sharon sends out his newly evolved Dewott. After 2 hits of arm thrust, the otter eats its citrus berry, so it hangs on through 1 more. However, the samurai in training wastes its life by using water sport before being dropped by another arm thrust. Pansear and Lipar died to the same, so we get out of this battle in better shape than I thought we would. Typically in Desert Resort, I grab the rare candy and raspberry from one of the Pokemon Rangers. This time I also need the soft sand, black glasses, TM for Rock Tomb, and I realize there's a heart scale here I can grab instead of the one outside of Dragon Spiral Tower. On top of that, I run into Relic Castle to talk to this hiker for one of the fossils. Now I know you must be thinking, but CGA, this is a solo run. Why would you need a fossil? Oh, you'll see. An interesting thing about Gen 5 is that there are police officers on a few routes that'll only battle you at night. Unfortunately for me, I was doing this run pretty late, so I couldn't avoid Policeman Daniel and his herdier. With that out of the way, I grab the rare candy here on Route 16 and bump into N at the amusement park. His only dangerous Pokemon is Sigilif, who sets up a Tailwind after living Flame Charge and then does a good chunk with Psybeam. Once we take him out, the rest of N's team dies easily and we can move on to the gym. Against Rich Boy Cody, Suplex reaches level 31, which means he gets his signature move, Heat Crash. Before Gen 8, Emboar's evolutionary line was the only Pokemon who could learn this move, and now it's one of 2 along with the Colossal line that learns it by level up. The lighter the target is in comparison to the user, the more damage Heat Crash will do, and at 331 pounds, Suplex is a big boy. With this new move, we're ready to take on Elisa. While Heat Crash could one-shot Emolga, I need to use 2 Flame Charges to make sure we're faster than Zebstrika. This means we need to take a super effective Aerial Ace from Emolga, and unfortunately after my second Flame Charge, we get paralyzed by the 30% chance of static. Emolga hits a second Aerial Ace before going down, and even though we're at +4 speed now, it gets cut by 75%. The second Emolga still outspeeds and drops Emboar with an Aerial Ace of its own. Without a Cherry Berry in my bag, all I can do is hope for no paralysis this time around. On attempt 2, I get both my Flame Charges off, but then as we KO the Flying Mouse with Heat Crash, there's the paralysis. The second Emolga oddly uses Pursuit, so we kill it the same way and actually have a chance against Zebstrika. This Zebra is relatively heavy, so Flame Charge is our best bet as we bring it down to the yellow after Spark. Just one more hit and we're home free. Suplex proceeds to get paralyzed 2 turns straight and then dies to a quick attack before having another chance to launch one himself. So close, but I've got a good feeling about attempt 3. This time we crit the first Emolga to KO it right away after its Aerial Ace. I also managed to drop the second one without a crit, but of course get paralyzed. We have plenty of HP, so we should be able to take out Zebstrika. After Spark, Flame Charge brings it into the red, and after a Hyper Potion, Suplex gets another crit to kill. I guess he's trying to make up for his paralysis on attempt 2. On the way to Driftville City, Sharon stops us for another battle, which means another run-in with Dewott. After Liepard's Fake Out, the cat uses Torment and goes down to an Arm Thrust, bringing the starter out. Unable to use another Arm Thrust, I decide to work up and get lucky as Dewott misses Razor Shell. Now I can use Arm Thrust but only get 2 hits, so the starter eats its Citrus Berry and gets back over half health. Razor Shell connects for around 45 HP, but also lowers Suplex's defense. Since I'm still under Torment, all I can really do is work up again, but instead of going for a second Razor Shell, Sharon decides to use Focus Energy. A +2 Arm Thrust gets a kill, and after Tranquil detects, Emboar buries the bird under his weight. Last is Pansear, who dies to an Arm Thrust, so we're free to cross the drawbridge. Cold Storage is easily cleared out, and now it's time for the next gym leader we're weak to, Clay. We outspeed and kill Krokorok with Heat Crash, and now the troublesome Palpitoad hits the field. I Flame Charge to start lowering its health, but I'm met with a Bulldoze, bringing me back to neutral. From here, Heat Crash KOs the ground water type, leaving Clay with his ace Excadrill. Surprisingly, Heat Crash one-shots the Steel Mole, who I'd expect to be pretty heavy. Wait, it's 2'4", 90 pounds? These proportions are definitely off. Anyway, let's stomp Bianca quick. Since it's now winter, we'll be dealing with hail from here on out. We start with mirror workups before I take Herdier down with an Arm Thrust. Panpour dies the same, and then Masharna and Servine go down to a couple of Flame Charges. Clay's Krokorok clears the Galvantula web, blocking Chargestone Cave, and he gives us Bulldoze before heading back to the city. Now it's time for my least favorite end battle, I'm looking at you, Ferroseed. Boldor goes down to a pair of arm thrusts, then Joltik, Clink, and the demon spawn itself all get roasted by flame charges. Good riddance. This would usually be when I say I catch a Tranquil as a fly mule on Route 7, but in the winter they have a 0% chance of being encountered, so that's cool. At Celestial Tower, I ring the bell, which you should all do after subscribing and liking the video, and backtrack to the gym to take on Skyla. But first, it's time to finally make use of that Rock Tomb TM we got in Desert Resort. Since Swoobat's unaware allows it to ignore my stat changes, I use a Rock Tomb planning to lower its speed, but to my surprise it actually kills the bat. Not before it hits a hefty acrobatics though. Suplex outspeeds and KOs Unpheasant with Heat Crash, and then after Swanna survives one, it sets up Aqua Ring. Skyla heals her Swan as we use Rock Tomb to do 75%. One last Heat Crash finishes the Water Chicken, earning us the Jet Badge. Outside Twist Mountain, we have our penultimate bout with Sharon and the last one before his Dewat becomes a Samurott. Just like against Skyla, Unpheasant dies to Heat Crash. I get a crit Rock Tomb against Dewat, which actually works against me as the Otter reveals Revenge and gets a crit of his own. I Flame Charge for the kill to get my speed higher than Sharon's Liepard and start to notice that the chip from Hail is really adding up. After Fake Out and despite a Citrus Berry, I'm able to take the Dark Cat down with one arm thrust, which leaves Sharon with only the newly evolved Simisear. Rock Tomb just isn't enough for a kill, and after Flame Burst, Suplex gets brought down to 2 HP from Hail. By the skin of our teeth, we eke out a win as one last Flame Charge drops the monkey. I am not a fan of winter in Unova. Twist Mountain is also very different in the winter and even has a different exit than I'm used to using, which really threw me off. Eventually, I find the way out and decide to catch myself a Woobat here for flies since I couldn't get Tranquil earlier. While looking for a bat, I stumble upon a shiny Boldor, which is honestly one of the coolest shinies there are. I mean, look at this thing. The purple and light blue is such an awesome color scheme. Too bad I can't use him. At least the shiny brought me luck since it only took a few more steps to find my Woobat. One inconvenience after another as I step into Isserus City and realize all the water is frozen over, so I can't catch my usual Palpitoad for Surf. For now, I fly back to New Vima Town to show Professor Juniper my Pokédex progress. Since I've now seen at least 60 Pokemon, the professor will give me the TM for Protect, which will come in handy later on. I take a quick check to confirm that Cubchoo can actually learn Surf, so we fly back to Isserus and pop into Twist Mountain for a sniffly little bear of our own. Before taking on Bryson, I teach Emboar Brick Break, which we grabbed from the old lady in the Pokemon Center. Nobody should be surprised that all of the Ice Gym Leader's Pokemon go down to Flame Charges, so that's an easy 7th gym. Now it's time for the usual run-in with N at Dragon Spiral Tower, where we see he revived Zekrom, a trip to Relic Castle to confront Ghetsis, and receiving the Light Stone from Lenora before flying back to Isserus for our final fight with Bianca. We have enough of a level advantage where even after Stoutland's Intimidate, we KO with a single Brick Break. It takes a pair to kill Simipour, and the monkey uses a Leer before going down. Flame Charge does around a quarter to Masharna, who fires off a critical hit Psybeam, leaving Suplex with 28 HP. Heat Crash manages to get the kill, and now Serperior goes down easy to one last Flame Charge. On the way to Opelucid City, this baseball player throws the TM for Fling at us, which I usually never mention. Let's leave it at that. Since I now have a Surfer, I make my way to Mistralton Cave where I can grab the TM for Rock Slide and finally go to Opelucid City. Before taking on the gym, I replace Suplex's Rock Tomb with Bulldoze for a more reliable, higher damage way of lowering speed. Speaking of Bulldoze, we use one to open our battle against Drayden as his Fracture uses Dragon Dance. A second one gets the kill and brings in Druddigon. Bulldoze does around 40%, which is fine by me since Revenge doesn't hit too hard afterwards. Now I decide to take the Rough Skin damage in order to get a guaranteed kill on the dragon. Last is Haxorus, who survives Brick Break and responds with a Dragon Tail to bring Emboar down to the yellow. Drayden heals his ace a few times, so after a few Brick Breaks, Suplex crits a Bulldoze and ends this battle with one more. Now it's time for our last battle with Sharon on Route 10. Unpheasant dies to Heat Crash, then Samurott hits the field. Brick Break does just over half as an Aqua Tail rips into Suplex for big damage. A second Brick Break gets the KO, and then Liepard opts not to use Fake Out and goes down to the same. Last is Simisear, but with Bulldoze now in my arsenal, the Fire Monkey doesn't stand a chance. Just some housekeeping before we start the Elite Four. I bought the TM for Fire Blast from Issaris City, backtracked to Two Blind Bridge to grab the TM for Flame Charge from the Battle Girl that I forgot to grab earlier, got a Citrus Berry from one of the Rangers in the Moor of Issaris, and went back to Route 10 for the TM for Roar. I also grabbed the second Heart Scale from Dragon Spiral Tower since it turns out I need to reteach both Flamethrower and Assurance to Emboar to get through the endgame. With that out of the way, I replaced Brick Break with Workup, slap the Black Glasses on our Fiery Pig, and jump into our battle against Chantal. As a Fire type, Emboar can't be burned, and since he's tanky enough to take 2 Psychics from Cophagrigus, I spend the first 2 turns working up. Now a +2 Flamethrower is strong enough to KO the Mummy and bring out Golurk. The Ghost Robot, Jellicent, and Chandelure all get taken out by +2 Assurances, so we're free to move on to Grimsley. Before opening this battle, a few changes need to be made to Suplex's moveset. I replace Flamethrower with the Flame Charge TM and swap Assurance out for Brick Break. After giving Emboar his Charcoal back, we're ready for the Dark-type Master. We open by Brick Breaking Scrafty for a quick kill. Now Crocodile comes in, and since it intimidates us, I use 1 turn to work up as Earthquake rips into my pig for huge damage. Since we're back at neutral attack, Brick Break KOs the reptile and we're face to face with Lipard. After Fake Out, we're actually hit with the super effective Aerial Ace and managed to survive on 8 HP. After dying to Brick Break, Grimsley sends out his Bisharp, but 1 Heat Crash is all it takes to finish this one. Let's move on to Caitlyn. Here is where my master plan finally comes to fruition. First I give Emboar the Plume Fossil to hold, and then I replace Brick Break with Fling. As the name suggests, this Dark-type move quite literally flings the user's held item at the opponent, doing damage based on what the item is. If you look all the way to the bottom of this table, you'll see that flinging a fossil gives a base power of 100. The only stronger item is the Iron Ball, but since this cuts speed in half, I wouldn't be able to use it. I need to open the battle with 1 workup in order for my strategy to work, and since Reuniclus doesn't crit Psychic, we're in the clear. At +1, I'm able to Heat Crash the Gelatin Baby for our first kill. Now the very tanky Masharna comes in, but it's no problem for Suplex, who chucks the Plume Fossil at this sleepy elephant, instantly knocking it out. I'm under the impression your item is lost after flinging, and not wanting to test that theory, I finished Sigillif and Gothitelle with 2 more Heat Crashes. Sadly, before Marshall, we have to get rid of Heat Crash for Fire Blast, and I replace Fling with Protect. Then I give Emboar back his Charcoal, and it's time for our last Elite Four member. I open with Workup as the throw uses Bulldoze to do around 1/4 of our health and lower my speed. I'm still faster than the Grappler, and we connect a Fire Blast for our first KO. Next is Sawk, and I protect turn 1 in case Marshall was going for Retaliate. The normal type move does double damage the turn after an ally faints, so that would have spelt trouble if it connected. Now I take a Stone Edge, which doesn't crit, and actually crit a Flame Charge to bring Sawk into the red. From here I can continue to fire off Flame Charges until Marshall is out of heals and Sawk dies. I cross my fingers against Kinkeldor as we land another Fire Blast, taking the powerhouse down before it could do any damage to us. Against Mienshao, I messed up my damage calc, so it actually survived Flame Charge and landed Jump Kick to bring Emboar down to 34 HP. Good thing Flame Charge is 100% accurate, so we don't need to worry about losing. With the Elite Four defeated and my brain running on fumes, it was time for Anangetsis. I replaced Fire Blast with Brick Break and Protect with Roar before challenging N. After Master Balling Reshiram, it was time to face off against the King. I start things off by sacking my monkey to get a clean switch into the Pokemon I'm actually using. This is the only time I allow myself to throw a different Pokemon into battle, since the game automatically puts Reshiram in the front of your party after catching it. Now I roar Zekrom after it sets up Light Screen, and I want anything aside from Archeops or Caracosta to come out. Of course. I go for another roar, but Acrobatics does too much damage, and we die to Klinklang, who is actually Zoroark in disguise since it used Focus Blast. I lose a little time waiting for Reshiram to die, and now go back in to test my luck a second time. This time, Emboar is holding my only Citrus Berry, and after Fusion Bolt, look who comes in. I click Roar again and finally realize it's a decreased priority move, so this strategy never really had a chance to begin with. Stone Edge is an interesting choice since Caracosta has Waterfall, which does more damage, but I'm not complaining as I'm now close to half health and facing down Klinklang. I work up for a turn as the Steel type hits a 4 times resisted Flash Cannon, and after my second work up, we get Hyper Beam down to 30. Now I Flame Charge to kill, which will make me the fastest thing on the battlefield, so I no longer fear Archeops. I didn't realize Zekrom would survive a +2 Brick Break, so I go down to Zen Headbutt, but because of Sturdy, I honestly would have lost to Caracosta anyway. I replace Roar and Work Up with Bulldoze and Rock Slide, give Suplex the Soft Sand, and go in for attempt 3. I get a lucky crit to KO Zekrom with a single Bulldoze after being hit by Fusion Bolt. I use another against Caracosta, doing over half, and manage to survive Waterfall with 9 HP. Then I'm absolutely devastated as I forget about Aqua Jet and lose to N again. Because this is a speedrun, I actually haven't even battled enough enemies to max out Emboar's EVs, so although it's going to take some time, I backtrack to Route 2 to start beating up on some weak Lillipup, Patrat, and Purloin for attack and speed boosts. Once I'm satisfied with the amount of attack I have, I go back to Victory Road and Surf to fight Basculin, which have a yield of 2 speed EVs. With my stats maxed out, I go back to the castle to finish things once and for all. We outspeed Zekrom now and get a crit Bulldoze for an opening kill. Now we have enough health where after taking Caracosta's Waterfall, we don't need to fear Aqua Jet, so we kill the turtle with 2 Bulldozes. I Brick Break to kill Klinklang and Zoroark, and since we're now also faster than Archeops, all I need to do is connect Rock Slide to drop the bird. Last is Vanillux, but the Ice type poses no threat as we finish N off with a Brick Break. After beating the king, Ghetsis forces you straight into a battle without a chance to change your held item or moveset. I pray Flare Blitz, which Emboar learned at level 62 is strong enough for a one-shot, but without the charcoal it can't be done, and Cofagrigus poisons me. Ghetsis heals the sarcophagus as I use Rock Slide, and then Cofagrigus poison stalls me with Protect. Toxic damage is building up, so I'm forced to take more recoil to get a kill with Flare Blitz, but with only 30 HP left, this is my last turn. I take Bofalin down with me, and after blacking out, can make the necessary adjustments to actually win this fight. I give Suplex a Petra Berry and replace Bulldoze with Grass Knot before going back to face the villain. I open with Grass Knot against Cofagrigus, who uses Toxic, but my Petra Berry cures me. After Protect, I Flare Blitz for a kill and we're in good shape. Bofalin again dies to Brick Break, and when Seismitoad comes in, we use a 4 times effective Grass Knot to decimate the Amphibian. Hydreigon unfortunately outspeeds us, but we survive Surf and use a super effective Brick Break to drop the dragon. I need to use a second Flare Blitz to take care of Electros, and the recoil brings us down to the red, but Ghetsis only has Bisharp left, and there's no way this thing survives a 4 times effective Brick Break. Emboar was on incredible pace to overtake Landorus for the fastest time of any of my runs, but then the difficulties with N crushed those dreams. Had I known that Roar was negative priority, I probably would have just EV trained earlier and saved a few minutes, but these runs are all about gathering information and learning as much as we can about these games. It took me quite some time to figure out the strategies I used in the endgame, but I think I took good advantage of Emboar's wide range of TMs it can learn. As the credits start to roll, Suplex clocks in at a time of 2 hours, 37 minutes, and 2 seconds, putting it slightly below Samurott but above Breviary by a nice margin. We're still on the hunt for a Pokemon that can break the 2-hour mark, but I'm starting to wonder if that's even possible. If you enjoyed this run, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below so you don't miss out on the next one. It really helps out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.